A huge announcement from Snowprint, the developers of Tacticus, has just arrived hot off the presses, and it's going to massively overhaul the endgame. Today we're going to look at some of the new content and what it means for you as a player. There has been a huge announcement today as Snowprint have shared their plans to shake up the endgame for Tacticus. This is going to be released towards the end of August, but because of the size of the changes coming, we're getting a sneak preview into everything. And we're not just seeing one or two little tweaks, there are at least 4 massive changes that will revolutionize everything we know about the game. So I wanted to go through everything I already know about the changes with you. We certainly don't know everything because this is very much a work in progress set of features, but we might be able to shed a little light on some of it. There might be some mistakes in my video from what actually gets eventually released because the information is changing every day, but as we get more and more information about the new systems, I'm going to be doing deep dives into each one and trying to guide you through the changes. Also, we don't have a build to play with yet, so there's sadly no footage of the new stuff, but as soon as we have one and I'm able to share how everything looks with you, you'll be the first to see it here. And oh boy, there's going to be a lot for us to chew on because it's an incredibly meaty update. We'll start by diving into the new rarity of champions, which is called Mythic Rarity. Alongside this, characters will also have a whole new upgrade tier called Adamantine, which will let you level your character skills up to 65. Then, to help improve your characters beyond this, you're going to be able to collect mythic items, which could be things like weapons, armor, or crit boosters as an example. And then we're going to be going through a whole new feature called the Relic System, which allows you to slot relics that give new abilities or upgrades to your characters. Finally, we're going to look into how the new changes will affect you as a player directly, with an overhaul to the economy as a whole. So as you can see, that's already a crazy amount of changes. So without further ado, let's get cracking. So starting with the rarity changes, to understand where this is going to come into play, we need to look at the character progression. Currently, each character goes from common to uncommon to rare to epic and finally to legendary. And along the way, they'd collect different stars at each rarity before finally maxing out a character and getting blue wings. Now there's going to be a whole new rarity above blue wings called mythic. And if legendary didn't sound awesome enough, then this has taken it to a whole new levels of greatness. And this is going to work differently to the other rarity levels though, because this time, when you've brought a character up to having his blue star, you will now get a mission chain unique to that character. When you play through that mission chain, you will get mythic shards. These mythic shards are then used to allow the champion to reach mythic rarity. The missions themselves are meant to showcase each character in a really good way and to test your understanding of the character. If you don't know the character well enough, then these missions should be taxing for you. Although for me, I'll probably be waiting to watch a Nox Tempest video on how to complete them. We don't have details about what it means yet, but I can imagine maybe something like hit 5 characters or more with Toths active, or revive 3 characters with Isabella in 1 round. But we'll have to see when they arrive. And you're going to be able to slowly get these shards outside of mission chains as well. Firstly, in the Rogue Trader shop, and there are actually some changes coming to the Rogue Trader shop that I'll get into later. You'll also get them during the last part of the Extremis campaign events, so there's going to be a real reason to drive through them to the end. Although, of course, that does mean that you're going to need more characters at D2 or D3 because the last few missions are really tough. You'll get them from honouring a character in Onslaught, which is what it's called when you give a character shards or badges at the end of Onslaught, and then finally from Blessed Requisitions. So I would definitely recommend to start saving up any Blessed Requisition scrolls that you get in order to use them for this. And so this is already a much deeper system than we previously had and will reward your knowledge on the characters in a really nice way and allow you to specialize with specific ones. The next big change is for our items. Currently, we gather 6 upgrades together, and then we can level them from stone to iron to bronze to silver to gold and then to diamond. Each of these have a number of tiers amongst them, and we finish on diamond 3 currently. Now we're going to blast past diamond into Adamantine Tier, and this is going to come with a whole host of levels for your passive and active abilities. It looks like this is only going to be available for mythic characters, so it will be an extra unlock and specialization for them. In fact, you're going to be able to level up to 65, which just sounds insane considering how powerful some of the abilities are already. I can't wait to do a mythic Adamantium Jude active into 5 grouped characters. Oh boy. Of course, getting to Diamond 3 already takes an insane amount of time, over 40 days for some characters, and so for those of you worried about this, please do keep watching until the end of the video and I'll share more on how this is going to be affected by the economy overhaul. One last thing to note here is that the Adamantine tier will only launch with Adamantium 1, which brings our characters up to level 55, and the other two tiers will come later. The next big part of the item overhaul comes in the form of mythic items, and so items currently follow the same rarity as characters. They go from common all the way up to legendary. Now we're going to have mythic type of items that we'll be able to work towards, and again I'll talk about the leveling of these at the end of the video. The improvements at a legendary weapon that has 10 levels in it versus a legendary weapon that has 11 levels in it is already a pretty big jump, and as you can imagine, getting these new mythic items are going to be an even bigger jump. It's going to be interesting to see the balance around these new weapons, because this may mean that tanks just become the leaders in many modes moving forwards, because if they don't, damage characters would be able to walk through guild raids. I definitely don't envy the balancing team for all this stuff, that's for sure. And these items will be bound to your character, but you will be able to replace a mythic item with a stronger item, and the old one will appear back in your inventory. I'm not sure how this is going to work exactly in practice, especially if you want to swap a knife for a gun, but maybe the whole point is that once you've decided on the route for your character by this point, you're not meant to be changing them around as much as we are just now. Let's see when it comes in. And the fun doesn't stop here for items though, because a new feature is being added called the Relic System, and it works like this. When you bring a character up to mythic status, then the third equipment slot will change and you will be allowed to add a relic in there. Similar to mythic items, they won't be able to be directly removed, but you can swap for another relic, and then the old relic will again appear back in your inventory. And I believe these are going to be very powerful and will add a brand new effect or whole new abilities to characters. We haven't been told exactly what these are, but it seems like some relics will be specific to characters and some will be more general. So I guess you could either level up your Marnius Calgar directly with a new ability, or level up a group of characters. Maybe all the 1000 Suns will get a relic, or maybe all melee champs will get a relic. We'll need to see when we get our hands on them. And as this is a new system, the rollout of these relics is going to be done slowly, so I guess we won't have a relic per character when they do get released, but at least we will get some release that we can start to play around with. And these are going to be found in the Rogue Trader, so again, just remember that this is really endgame stuff. One thing that's important here, in the upcoming patch, there may be some of these that are data mined. The developers have been clear with us though that nothing will be final until the actual patch arrives later in the month, so don't get too worked up on seeing these, as they won't be final. And if you see things you don't like from the data miners, then just wait until we get the patch notes at the end of August before fully judging it. This system really is a work in progress currently. And so with all these changes, you probably have the same reaction to everyone else when you saw them, which is something along the lines of like, wow, it already takes me 10 years to fully level my team from where it is now. Will this mean it's going to take me 20 years? Well, hopefully not, because there's been a really big overhaul in how long it takes to level a character. Snowprint is going to be reducing the costs associated with leveling characters, machines of war, and items. So how much of this difference is this going to make in reality? Right now, we don't have the full details, but of course, I'll be doing a super deep dive into this in future videos for us all to compare, as well as overhauling my Google Sheets so we can see it visually. It's not exactly something I'm looking forward to, but the player-specific Google Sheets are probably due an update similar to how the Guild Raid ones are working, so it might be time to get on with it. One good thing is that they will be refunding us some materials if you have any abilities at level 50 or items at level 11. I can't say that this is really worth driving your characters to do in the next month before the release of all this new stuff, but if you're close anyway, it might be worth just using your stuff to get there. The other part of this economy update will see a streamlining of where you can get different upgrade items. They are changing as follows. The Rogue Trader is going to have mythic shards, relic offers, and newer legendary character shards. The Guild Raid is going to have orbs, XP books, upgrades, and older, uncommon or rare character shards. The Guild War is going to have ability badges, Machine of War resources, and then older epic legendary character shards. Arena is going to have XP books and items. The Onslaught is going to have badges, although of course you're honouring your characters does still give them shards and orbs. And then Salvage Run is going to have Machine of War resources and salvage. And then on top of this, there's even more changes coming. There's going to be no more 5 shards from requisition pools. You might want to be saving them up as well until this is dropped. There's going to be an increase in campaign drop rates overall, and they're also going to double the number of times you can raid elite nodes each day, as well as increasing the amount of free energy, and apparently there's even more coming on top of all this that we haven't even been announced yet. So when's it all coming? Well, first there's going to be more details coming in the FAQ being posted later this week. Then a lot of the new resources will start dropping with updates scheduled for the 11th of August. The Ascensions and Mythic missions themselves are going to unlock on the 20th of August. And then finally, we're going to have a Mythic celebration event coming to the game on 1st of September. So that's a huge amount of work from the Snowprint team. And as I said, I don't envy the designers in trying to get this right the first time around. In fact, I imagine it will need some updates over the next few months before it fully settles, just because of the depth of the changes that are coming. One thing that's important to know is that while speaking to the community leader Ratatosk and the rest of the community team, it's clear that they want to explain these changes ahead of time to allow us to start understanding them fully, and more importantly, for us to absorb everything as a whole. If you look at one part of these changes in isolation, then it might not make much sense and you might get frustrated. However, this is clearly a lot of changes at the same time, and if you dig too deep into the theoretical, you might miss the point that this has given us more content rather than being something nefarious. For me, on a personal level, I am super happy to see these changes coming in, and I really mean it. I love Tacticus, and anything that adds more for me to do, as well as offering more tactical abilities that I can use in game, which is what the Relic System essentially gives us, is very welcomed. And of course, I'm super excited to see how the legendary events change with this. Does that mean we're getting a stage 15 and 16 coming up next? Let's hope so. I've also talked a lot of this year how I don't want the game to be in a super stale meta. In fact, I dream of a game where there's so many choices that we never really see a worked out perfect answer to a team. I want to see lots of different types of teams, all built on different foundations of tactical brilliance. I want to be coming up against different teams every time I play, and for people to find unique setups that suit their style of play, a lot like it is in the tabletop version of the game. I feel the Relic System is a step in that direction. The other thing with the new updates is that it's going to be much harder to go wide and high at the same time. What I mean is I don't expect to see everyone having 3 guild raid teams, all with mythic, fully leveled characters in there, and instead we might see a little bit more specialization, at least in the short term. So yeah, overall, I think this is a really great update on paper. We'll have to see once it's released, and once we have the proper time to feel the leveling, but I don't mind about needing to level extra stuff, because I found peace with that a long time ago. I really have always wanted a game like this, which is super deep, and as long as it continues to be supported, I will continue to support it from my side. So this is a huge update. With so many different parts of the game being updated, what's the most important part for you? Are you as excited about it as I am, or is there something that worries you from the changes? Let me know in the comments down below.